Good morning. This is Dr. Casanova again with Doc Now. Today we're going to talk about going back to school in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. Returning to school, if you look at what some of the professionals out there have said, including Dr. Fauci, who believes that we will be able to open schools in the fall, even as a result of the forced closure of about 48 or 49 of the states with schools, involves some general ideas. The decision to reopen basically needs to be based on the level of infection in the local community. And reopening needs to occur on a case-by-case basis. That's basically the suggestion of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, whose leader or director is Dr. Fauci. So, returning to school, some basic principles. The considerations before you reopen school is there are certain things that are uncertain. There's uncertainty in terms of if children get infection as frequently as adults. There's uncertainty if children pass infection as frequently as adults. And therefore, the decision to reopen schools, as I mentioned, has to be based on the level of infection in your given community. So, what are some of the safety issues or the concerns that we have with reopening schools? The factors would be the following. Grouping schools in every state and every city as being the same is not useful. Schools have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. And that information will depend on the amount of viral activity in your specific city, county, community, which is the dominant factor. And this can be evaluated by actually looking at the number of cases in your community on a regular basis. And as I mentioned again and again, it will be different in different areas and different schools. Okay, returning to school, what kind of modifications can be done for safety reasons or to reopen schools? Modifications can be the following. It can involve scheduling, it can involve layout, it can involve transportation, it can involve a variety of things. Now, let's discuss the scheduling part in particular. Schools are going to want to consider breaking up classes to avoid overcrowding. They're going to want to consider staggering arrival times, mornings and the afternoon and such. Again, things that can allow the school to safely reopen. They're going to also have to consider the layout of the school, which is going to probably have to be different. Some creativity is going to be needed there. Children, the space between desks may have to change, or children may have to seat every second or third desk, which obviously is going to mean that you're going to be able to hold less children in a room. And then also an important consideration, wearing masks, both for the children and for the teachers. Now, along the lines of transportation, there's going to be some creativity needed there. Bus seating is going to have to be reconsidered. You're not going to be able to put a whole bunch of kids in buses, with multiple kids in one seating area. It would also help for there to be, some participation from parents to go and help in terms of picking up the kids. And again, the concept of wearing masks, absolutely crucial along those lines. Other things that can be done in terms of modifications in the school also involves assemblies and also education. In terms of assemblies, basic principles, you want to avoid large gatherings of kids and of crowds. You want to reduce the congestion in the health office where you may have nurses or other individuals providing health. And you may also want to limit the students that you bring from other schools so that there isn't commingling from different communities. And then lastly, you want to touch upon the education. Education is absolutely necessary. You need to teach your staff, your teachers, your infrastructure in terms of distancing and wearing masks. You obviously want to push that same concept to the students. You want to stress hand washing, as we have said in the past, for at least 20 seconds. Again, stress wearing masks, and continue not just to educate the teachers and the students, but also just as importantly, their families. The other thing that would be important in terms of modifications would be supplies. There has to be an adequate amount of supplies for healthy hygiene practices. There has to be routine cleaning and disinfection, much more than was before, and especially for those high-touch objects and surfaces. And those are the basic principles that we want to consider in terms of returning back to school in the COVID era.